Miri's uncle had sent her a book from mainland, which is a big village. Much bigger than Miri's place. It's also bigger than the nearby Tehsil place and bigger than Miri's Anjao district. There's a dense forest behind Miri's facility and a bridge after the forest. There's another forest on the other side of the bridge, and then comes the Tehsil place. Once you cross the confluence of Brahmaputra and 5 other rivers, you reach the mainland. Miri's uncle told her that mainland is India. Miri's locality falls on the east side of this India. Miri's state, Arunachal Pradesh, is anyways at the east side of India, and on top of its Miri's, Anjao is at the east side of the state. So it makes Miri's place very close to China, as if it's in the lap of China. Anjav's best buddy is Lohit district. Lohit and Anjav look like two kids who are punished by the school teacher, so they sit in the corner of the class facing the wall. Lohit river separates Lohit and Anjav from the rest of the villages. Thus, travelling to mainland from Anjav is a mammoth task. Earlier, people used to cross the river with a boat, but now Army has built a bridge to connect the place to mainland. The bridge is still young, as it was built just a year before Miri's birth. So the bridge is 10 years old now. Sometimes the army vehicles pass from the bridge and the bridge makes a cracking sound. Beneath it flows the wild blue-greenish Lohit river. It flows till China and is as weird as the other rivers of Himalaya. When the snow melts in the summer, it starts flowing faster. However, in the rainy season, it becomes wilder. It flows like a roller coaster ride, which makes its spectators miss a heartbeat. Sometimes she becomes so crazy that she forgets her usual path and tries to gulp the nearby places too. God, she's an expert in changing her route. At night, she seems so distant, but in the morning, she's present in the backyard. Her ever-changing nature makes life difficult for the local people as they cannot reach mainland. However, the bridge makes the job easy and thus is adored by the locals and especially by Miri. The bridge is very dear to her. It helps Miri to reach her high school. It also allows grains, veggies, toys and sometimes biscuits to reach her village. The bridge also carries sick people to the other side to see a doctor at odd hours. So for the villages, the bridge is their lifeline. Miri strongly felt that there's no such bridge as this in the entire world. She adored its cracking sound, the silver color and its ability to connect the ends together. She felt that the bridge is just for her. She expressed her feelings to her uncle once and he had a good laugh about it. It was then that he sent her a book that had various pictures of bridges around the world. Some bridges were made up of sand, stones, iron and so on. Some bridges had white strings attached to them, as if the bridge hung on them like a bird with huge wings. Some even connected the ends of oceans which were 100 times bigger than the river Brahmaputra. These bridges carried colorful vehicles with headlights on them. Miri's uncle also sent a letter with the book and it said, "Bridges are like true magic that connect two ends." At night time, when Miri's mom was busy in the kitchen, Miri woke up. She ensured that her grandma was asleep and then she went down to pull the book that she kept below the bed. The wooden planks cracked and the pigs which were tied below snorted. This made her grandma furious. "Why did you take out that stupid book again? Grown-up girls like you must help in the home chores." Miri knew these lines by heart and she knew that grandma's next target would be her mother. "Your mother hasn't taught you well. We Mishmi people must know how to weave shawls. How would you get a suitable groom otherwise? Your mother is not a Mishmi, so doesn't know Mishmi's way of life. She is an outsider and can't raise the house properly. Miri's grandma always criticized Miri's mother and talked about raising the house again and again. Raising the house is altogether a unique concept, very special for Mishmis. All Mishmi houses are made up of wood. The house is built on wooden bamboos. The wooden planks are placed on the bamboos to form floor. Below the house, Mishmis keep their pigs. They use a wooden ladder to climb up and down from the house. The house itself looks like a narrow lane. On one side of it is a room. Mishmi men are allowed to marry many women, so they add a room to the house according to the number of wives they have. Some houses in the village have 16, 17 rooms. However, Miri's father had only one wife, Miri's mom. Miri's father was uneducated. However, Miri's uncle, who lived in mainland, was an educated man. Miri and her mom were very sure that he won't allow such things to happen in her house. However, Miri's grandma was angry with her father. Once, Miri's father went to attend Tamil Nadu festival and he fell in love with Miri's mom. Miri's grandma was sure that her daughter-in-law had done some black magic on her son and forced him to marry her. Grandma wanted her son to marry the granddaughter of a well-known family from Pasighat, but she had no choice but to accept Miri's mother, and this made her bitter towards her. Miri's mom was wearing a pink-colored cognac and was sitting in the kitchen. Her eyes were narrow and swollen due to the heat from the wood fire used for cooking. She was blowing the fire with her mouth. Miri suddenly thought that the baby in her mother's womb must be feeling the heat too. Her mother was putting wood in the fire with her right hand, and with her left she was patting little Louis. She indicated Miri to pull the string attached to the cloth in which she put the baby Lisa. Miri always wondered how her mom was able to keep an eye on her 3 daughters at a time, and at the same time she prayed that her mother should deliver a boy this time. Miri's grandmother also wanted a boy who would look after the cattle and the pigs. The birth of 3 girls upset her and she cursed her mother for not giving a successor to the family. This made grandma hate Miri too. Miri's mom was tired and sat down for a while. This made grandma even more furious and she started yelling at her. "You've not fed us till now. At least show some mercy and feed the pigs." Miri's mom, who was in her 9th month, got up and with great effort she walked down the ladder, fed the pigs and came up. This did not satisfy her mother-in-law. She continued with her yelling. "You're a curse from the gods, and that's why you have 3 daughters in the house. If this time you give birth to another girl, I will ask my son to raise the house and marry the granddaughter of Pasighat village." Baby Lisa started to cry due to hunger. Miri's mom took her out with great difficulty and held her in one hand. Miri looked at her mother and thought that she would cry any minute now. At midnight, the wind started to blow harder and brought heavy rains with it. The pigs tied below the house started to snort. Miri's mom took the oil lamp in her hand and went down to check on the pigs. When she came back, Miri put her hand around her mom and slept. She could feel the movement of the baby in her mother's womb. The morning was no different. The rain did not stop, and this made the villagers panic. They all went out to tie the pakku, that is the big bulls, under the trees. No one was there to tie the bulls for Miri's family. They were standing in the showers and were drenched. Miri prayed that her father would be home soon. It rained heavily the whole day. Miri, along with her mom and grandmother, carried the stack of wood from below to the kitchen. Miri's father came home at night. He was tensed about Miri's mom's health. I am worried. Just wait for a few days. Let the rain stop and then I'll take you to the hospital across the bridge. I will go and inform the doctor first. Last delivery was very critical. So this time you must deliver in the hospital. Miri's grandma was furious. Why do you need a doctor in a hospital? People deliver babies at home. Miri's mom was very tired. Though Miri's father prayed for the rain to stop, it did not stop for the next 3 days. The people were worried for the pigs and they moved the pigs to a safer place. Then they tied the bulls and kept all the farming equipment in the house. The villagers also exchanged dry wood stock. They were all worried that the continuous rain showers would increase the water level of Lohit river and that it may damage the bridge. Miri's father was more worried for his wife. Though Miri's mom was doing her daily chores, she was getting weaker day by day. One afternoon, when Miri's mom was working in the kitchen, she felt a sudden pain. With great difficulty, she stood up and rested her back on the wall. She called Miri. Go and get your father. Miri's father was nearby and rushed home. I'll call the doctor. And let me see if I can get a bicycle, he said. Miri's mom assured him, it's okay, no need to rush. I guess I can wait for a day. But he was not sure of it. Don't worry, I'll be back soon. It's just an hour's ride. He took the umbrella Miri's uncle had got them from mainland and hurriedly went out. Miri's mom asked Miri to look after her baby sisters and told her not to tell anything about this to her grandma. Miri thought that her mom was behaving like a little girl. Her mom took Miri's hand in hers. Just don't go anywhere. Just be here with me. Miri saw pain on her mom's face and she was scared. What's happening, Ma? Nothing, her mom said. Is it hurting, Mom? Miri's mom did not reply, but held her lips tight. It was nearly evening time and Miri was anxiously waiting for her father to come back with the doctor. Suddenly, a strong wind came through the door and Miri got up to close the door. The thunder struck hard and it started raining cats and dogs. Is it a cloudburst? Asked Miri's grandmother as she walked out of a room. She heard Miri's mom cry and peeped inside the room. With a disgust on her face, she said, Why the hell have you chosen this day? Miri, where's your father? He's gone across the bridge to fetch the doctor, Miri replied. This made her grandma shiver with anger. You have forced my son to go out in such heavy rains? Now I have to look after you. Clearly, she was not happy about it. Grandma ordered Miri, Go and call Mishibu's granny and tell her it's about time. And come back soon. Time for what? Asked Miri. Just move and do as I say. Grandma shouted. Miri held a plastic sheet on her head and ran out. There was havoc outside. People were running here and there. As Miri reached Mishibu's house with great difficulty, an old man shouted at her, What are you doing here? Lohit bridge has collapsed and the water is entering the village. Get out of the village, go fast. Miri was shocked. She could not believe it. Where is her father? She thought. She gathered all courage and ran home. She informed her grandmother about the situation. Her grandmother shivered with fear and her face was pale. She looked at Miri's mom and without wasting a minute started gathering plastic sheets, grains, clothes and a pair of scissors. She and Miri helped her mom to get up and walk down the ladder. Grandma pushed down the vacant water barrel and tied a rope to it. If there was too much water on the road, then they could at least sit on the empty barrel. Grandma tied baby Louis to Miri's back and held baby Lisa on hers. The three women carried a small lamp with them and started to walk in the darkness. In her right hand, Miri had a rope that was attached to the vacant barrel, and in her left hand, she had two utensils. Grandma had clothes and grains in one hand and held Miri's mom's hand in the other. Miri looked back and saw the river covering the land rapidly. She became numb with fear. "Miri, walk fast," ordered her grandma, who was almost dragging Miri's mom with her. It was raining heavily and they were carrying little ones on their back. Miri could feel the muddy water reaching her ankles, and gradually the water reached her knees. Miri's mom was walking with great difficulty, but there was no time to rest as the river was moving ahead rapidly. The entire village was empty and Miri was worried for her father. However, she didn't have time to think about it for long. All she wanted was to reach a safer place. It was very dark outside and her grandma was looking for the direction. Miri's mom was in great pain and Miri was tired and numb too. They entered the forest and eventually reached highland. They sensed some movement ahead and called out for help. Two young boys came back and literally carried Miri's mom ahead. Miri and her grandma reached the safe place shortly and saw that Miri's mom had already been taken into a corner by the old midwife. Miri sat beside her tired baby sister and fell asleep immediately. When she opened her eyes, she heard Mishibu's old midwife say, "You have a baby sister and she's as white as a star." Sister? Miri was scared. Now what will grandma say? What will mom do now? Will father marry another woman? Where is my father? Miri asked and rushed into the room. Her mom was asleep and her grandma was sitting near a stove looking nowhere. Miri went inside and hugged her grandmother tightly and they both started crying. Miri saw her father sitting beside her mother. His clothes were covered in mud. The bridge had collapsed in front of his eyes and with difficulty he had swum across to save his life. Mishibu's old lady exclaimed, "Your eldest daughter is very wise and this newborn one has brought you great luck." Miri's grandmother passed a packet of biscuit to Miri. "Do not praise her so much. It will go to her head," said Miri's grandma. This made Miri giggle. Miri remembered what her uncle once told her. Bridges are like magic that connects two ends. But broken Lohit bridge had also connected two ends.